A long time ago, I built a miter saw station in my old shop. In my new shop, though, everything has to be portable and have storage and dust collection. My new miter station will be completely portable with built-in dust collection, blade storage, and some more drawers to organize my shop. I have full plans and a cut list for this project available on my website. Check it out at the first link in the description if you want to pick up some plans, and while you're at it, grab some Wood.Work.LIFE merch too. This project starts by cutting most of the parts to size using my track saw, but you could do this with a circular saw and a straight edge too. I don't really like feeding full 4x8 sheets of plywood into the table saw unless I have to. After completing my cut list, I needed to drill the holes for the EMT tubing that would become the rails for the stock support extensions. It's critical that these holes are drilled precisely into the MDF and are square across the entire piece or your rails will bind. I did this by first drilling a template at the drill press and then using the template to drill through the rest of the components. Before I put anything together though, I did a test fit with the rails to ensure that it would work with everything assembled. Before assembling the main carcass of the cabinet, I pre-drilled and countersunk all the holes for the 1 3/4 screws. It's important in MDF to pre-drill all your holes before installing screws because MDF will mushroom around your screws, or if they're not countersunk into the ends of material with a pilot hole, they'll split your material. I ganged the boards together to speed up the process of pre-drilling the panels, and then clamped the main carcass of the cabinet and drove all the screws, ensuring everything was square as I went. With the main carcass assembled, I used the shelves as spacers to install the center divider. The center divider is attached with screws from the top and bottom of the cabinet. When you're spacing out your screws, make sure you don't drill through any of the holes where your rails will eventually go, or, it won't work. Next, it was time to install the top shelf that would enclose the EMT rails. I flipped the cabinet upside down to make this a little bit easier. I used the spacers to offset the shelf from the top of the cabinet, but I didn't attach them just yet. I also cut some spacers to offset the blade storage shelf from the top at just the right distance and screwed everything in. The other side of the divider shelf needed to be cut after everything was assembled so we could account for any error that was introduced at this point. 3/4 inch MDF varies in thickness, and I might have made some mistakes myself too. We also need to attach it with pocket holes on one side, since on this one side it's going to be hidden by the other side of the shelf across from the divider. And since the cabinet's pretty heavy at this point, it's a good time to go ahead and install the casters. I've used these casters on a bunch of different projects and they work really well and they're super cheap. I grab it on Amazon. I'll share the link with you down below in the description if you want to pick them up and try them on your next project. And it's starting to look like something, but the cool stuff is still coming up. After installing the spacers for the EMT rails, I carefully measured the miter saw that I was going to install in the miter station. I used the Makita 10-inch sliding miter saw because it has great dust collection, it's quiet, it has a brake on the blade so it doesn't spin forever, and it's just a really nice, accurate saw. Oh, and it's cordless, but honestly that's almost besides the point. It just facilitated me making this entirely portable miter saw station. I made the wings for the saw an 1/8 of an inch taller than the bed of the saw so I could shim the saw up to perfectly flush it with the wings with a couple washers when I was going to install it later. These wings are attached to the top of the miter saw station with some glue, and I clamped them in place until the glue dried. I cut the fronts of the wings at an angle to allow for the full 50 degrees of left and right miter on this saw, and space them just far enough from the saw to allow for all of the miter angles that the saw can go to. This will vary from saw to saw, so make sure you kind of place your saw on top of the station and adjust it through its motions to make sure you leave space for all of them. Next, it was time to do something with this big negative area in the miter station. You could do whatever you want here. A couple of open shelves, a tool storage station. You could put a planer down here and make this a multifunction cart, but right now, I need more drawer space. I carefully measured the height of this area to ensure it matched my plans and started cutting drawer parts. These drawers would be installed using full extension drawer slides, so I made them 1 inch narrower than the opening to accommodate the slides. I also left a 1/4 inch of space between the drawers to maximize storage, but allowing the drawers to operate smoothly without binding against each other. I cut dados in the side of each drawer to accommodate a 1/4 inch bottom. This would help to square up the drawers and make them stronger and easier to assemble. I then pinned the drawer parts together, and while they were pinned together, I pre-drilled and countersunk for screws to permanently attach these. This is not the ideal drawer, but they're going to be strong enough for these purposes. Before I started installing the drawer hardware, I made a quick little jig to install the drawer slides and accommodate the 3/4 inch drawer front, and marked and installed the drawer slide hardware on the drawers themselves. I don't know why, but I always spend an extra couple bucks for this soft close drawer hardware. Don't ask me, I don't know. I installed the 3/4 inch drawer fronts with a couple of panhead screws from the inside of the drawer. That way they wouldn't pull through the MDF and they'd be on there securely. Now for some more fun stuff. I used my CNC to cut 1/4 inch hardboard into some storage for all my backup blades for my miter saw and my table saw. I cut some circles at the CNC and I attached these circles onto another piece of hardboard that was 1 inch smaller with some CA glue and accelerator. And the overlap between these two pieces would eventually become a simple little drawer pull. I added some 3/4 inch spacers and installed the blade storage drawers. Simple yet effective. Next, I installed the EMT into the hole I drilled earlier for the extension wings. I fit 36 inches of both left and right side support into this miter saw station, so with the 4-foot width of the cabinet, I have up to 10 feet of support with both wings extended. That's more than I'll ever need in this shop. I used one board attached to the outside of the cabinet to do a final alignment of the support piece, and used 5-minute epoxy to add the edge support pieces that would connect the EMT to allow it to slide through the track. I then waxed the EMT so that it would move freely. The holes in these final two pieces are more precisely sized, so there's no play in the EMT as it slides in and out of the track. This is just one more step to prevent binding to make it easy to use. I debated for about 5 minutes, but then I decided I'm going to paint this thing black. I use an inexpensive HBLP sprayer from Rockler to do all my paint spraying, and the super convenient gray coat paint tent. I used a quart of Glidden paint plus primer in black and shot a coat of water-based poly over top to protect the finish. Once the poly was dry, this thing was ready for action. I put my blades into the blade storage and attached the drawer pulls and bolted on and shimmed up the saw, and it was on to the next project. If you follow my website, Wood.Work.LIFE.com, you'll know I've been incepting this project for a while. I'm glad I've finally got it out of my head and into the real world. Again, if you want to build it yourself, I have the full plans on my website. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep your tools sharp and keep your mind sharper.